The secret life of the Sarus Crane. In the misty dawn hours across the wetlands of South Asia and northern Australia, a magnificent silhouette emerges from the tall grasses. Standing nearly 6 feet tall with an elegant neck stretched skyward, the Sarus Crane, Antigone, cuts an impressive figure against the golden sunrise. As the world's tallest flying bird, this remarkable species has captivated humans for millennia, yet much of its intricate social life, complex behaviors, and profound ecological significance remains hidden from casual observation. The Sarus Crane belongs to an ancient lineage that has graced our planet for over 60 million years, making cranes among the oldest living bird families. These living fossils have witnessed the rise and fall of dinosaurs, the formation of continents, and the evolution of countless other species. Today, they serve as both guardians of wetland ecosystems and symbols of longevity, fidelity, and grace in cultures across their range. Physical magnificence. Architecture of flight. The Sarus Crane's physical form represents millions of years of evolutionary refinement. Adults stand between 1.5 to 1.8 meters tall, with males typically larger than females, though both sexes share the species' distinctive characteristics. Their wingspan can reach an impressive 2.5 meters, creating a breathtaking spectacle when they take flight. Perhaps most striking is the bare red skin covering their head and upper neck, which intensifies in color during breeding season and emotional states. This crimson crown contrasts beautifully with their pearl gray body plumage, creating an almost regal appearance. The red patch extends from the base of the bill to the back of the head and down the neck, serving multiple functions in communication and thermoregulation. Their legs, colored in a dusky pink to reddish hue, are perfectly adapted for wading through shallow waters and marshy terrain. These powerful limbs can carry the crane at speeds of up to 35 kilometers per hour on land, while their broad, rounded wings enable them to soar at altitudes exceeding 10,000 meters during migration. The crane's bill, measuring 10 to 15 centimeters in length, functions as a versatile tool for probing mud, catching fish, and handling various food items with remarkable dexterity. Their keen eyesight, positioned high above wetland vegetation, allows them to spot predators, prey, and potential mates from considerable distances. Geographic distribution and habitat preferences. The Sarus Crane's range spans a vast geographic area, encompassing 3 distinct populations across South Asia and northern Australia. The Indian subcontinent hosts the largest population, with significant numbers found in the Gangetic Plains, particularly in Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Rajasthan, and Haryana. Smaller populations persist in Pakistan, Nepal, and formerly in Bangladesh, though sightings there have become increasingly rare. Southeast Asia supports the critically endangered eastern Sarus crane subspecies, with remnant populations struggling to survive in Vietnam, Cambodia, and Myanmar. Meanwhile, the Australian population, considered a separate subspecies, thrives in the tropical north, particularly in Queensland's wetlands and grasslands. These magnificent birds show remarkable adaptability in habitat selection, though they consistently require access to shallow wetlands for feeding and deeper water bodies for roosting. Natural grasslands, agricultural fields, seasonal wetlands, and even constructed reservoirs can support crane populations when managed appropriately. However, they demonstrate a strong preference for areas with minimal human disturbance during breeding season. The crane's habitat requirements change seasonally, with breeding pairs establishing territories in secluded wetlands during monsoon months, while non-breeding individuals often congregate in larger flocks on agricultural lands during winter months. This seasonal movement pattern has evolved to maximize resource availability while minimizing competitive pressure within populations. The art of communication, calls, displays, and social bonds. Sarus cranes possess one of the most sophisticated communication systems in the avian world. Their trumpeting calls, audible from distances exceeding 5 kilometers, serve multiple functions from territory defense to mate recognition. These vocalizations result from their unusually long trachea, which coils within their breastbone, creating a natural resonating chamber that amplifies their voice across vast wetland landscapes. The famous unison calling behavior represents perhaps the most spectacular aspect of crane communication. Pairs engage in synchronized duets, with heads thrown back and bills pointed skyward, creating haunting melodies that strengthen pair bonds and advertise territorial ownership. These duets follow specific patterns, with males typically initiating calls through deeper, longer notes, while females respond with higher-pitched, shorter calls that perfectly complement their partner's rhythm. Beyond vocalizations, Sarus Cranes employ an elaborate repertoire of visual displays. The iconic dancing behavior serves multiple purposes, from courtship rituals to social bonding and even play behavior among juveniles. These dances involve leaping, bowing, running, and tossing vegetation or other objects into the air, creating spectacular aerial ballets that can last for hours. Threat displays include aggressive posturing with wings spread wide, neck extended forward, and the characteristic pumping motion where cranes rapidly raise and lower their heads while producing harsh, guttural calls. Submissive individuals respond with lowered head postures and specific vocalizations that diffuse potential conflicts. Reproductive mysteries. Courtship, nesting, and parental care. The reproductive cycle of Sarus cranes begins with elaborate courtship rituals that can span several months. These displays strengthen existing pair bonds or help establish new partnerships, as these birds typically mate for life, though they may find new partners if their mate dies. Nest construction represents a collaborative effort requiring both architectural skill and strategic planning. Pairs select nesting sites in shallow water, typically 30 to 60 centimeters deep, surrounded by emergent vegetation that provides camouflage and protection. The nest itself becomes a remarkable engineering feat, constructed from aquatic plants, reeds, and grasses woven into a floating platform that can measure up to 2 meters in diameter. The female typically lays 2 eggs, though clutch sizes can range from 1 to 3. These olive-brown eggs, marked with darker spots and blotches, require 28 to 35 days of incubation, with both parents sharing responsibilities in 4 to 6 hour shifts. The dedication shown by breeding pairs during this vulnerable period demonstrates the species' remarkable commitment to reproductive success. Hatching presents its own challenges, as chicks must break through shells using specialized egg teeth while parents encourage them with soft calling. The newly hatched young, called colts, emerge covered in golden brown down and are capable of walking within hours. However, they remain dependent on their parents for protection, food, and thermoregulation for several months. Parental care extends far beyond the immediate post-hatching period. Young cranes accompany their parents for nearly 10 months, learning essential survival skills including foraging techniques, predator recognition, and social behaviors. This extended family bond ensures that young cranes acquire the complex knowledge necessary for survival in challenging wetland environments. Foraging ecology. The omnivorous advantage. Sarus cranes demonstrate remarkable dietary flexibility, functioning as opportunistic omnivores capable of exploiting diverse food resources across their range. This adaptability has proven crucial for survival in increasingly modified landscapes where traditional food sources may become scarce or unpredictable. Their diet encompasses a vast array of aquatic and terrestrial prey, including fish, frogs, crustaceans, mollusks, insects, small reptiles, and rodents. Plant materials feature prominently, particularly tubers, roots, shoots, and seeds from both aquatic and terrestrial species. Agricultural crops, especially rice, wheat, and groundnuts, have become increasingly important food sources in areas where natural foraging habitats have been converted. Foraging behavior varies significantly based on habitat type and prey availability. In shallow wetlands, cranes employ a patient stalking technique, moving slowly through water while probing the substrate with their bills. They can detect buried prey through tactile sensation, allowing them to locate hidden crustaceans, worms, and other invertebrates. During the agricultural season, family groups and flocks may concentrate on harvested fields, gleaning waste grain and consuming pest insects that benefit farming communities. This relationship between cranes and agriculture represents a complex dynamic that can either support conservation efforts or create human-wildlife conflicts, depending on local management practices. The cranes' role as ecosystem engineers becomes apparent through their foraging activities. By disturbing sediments while probing for food, they create microhabitats that benefit other wetland species. Their consumption of agricultural pests provides valuable ecosystem services, while their role as seed dispersers helps maintain plant community diversity across their range. Migration patterns. Ancient highways in the sky. Not all Sarus crane populations migrate, but those that do follow ancient flyways that have been used for thousands of years. The northern Indian populations undertake seasonal movements related to monsoon patterns and food availability, while Australian populations may move considerable distances in response to drought or flooding conditions. Migration represents one of the most energetically demanding activities in the crane's annual cycle. These journeys can span hundreds or even thousands of kilometers, requiring precise navigation skills and optimal physical condition. Cranes utilize thermal currents to gain altitude efficiently, often soaring to heights where oxygen levels challenge their respiratory systems. Family groups typically migrate together, with experienced adults guiding first-year birds along traditional routes. These migration corridors often follow river systems, mountain passes, and other geographic features that provide favorable wind conditions and stopover sites for rest and refueling. Climate change has begun altering traditional migration patterns, with some populations showing shifts in timing, routes, and destination areas. These changes present new conservation challenges, as protected areas established along historical flyways may no longer provide optimal habitat during critical migration periods. Cultural significance. Sacred birds in human societies. Throughout their range, Sarus cranes hold profound cultural significance that extends far beyond their ecological importance. In Hindu tradition, these birds symbolize marital fidelity, longevity, and good fortune. Their lifelong pair bonds have inspired countless legends and continue to influence wedding ceremonies and artistic expressions across South Asia. The crane's association with fidelity stems from observed behavior patterns where mated pairs remain together for decades, supporting each other through challenges and celebrating successes with elaborate dances. This devotion has elevated the species to almost mythical status in many cultures, where harming a crane is considered deeply unlucky. In Australian Aboriginal cultures, the crane features prominently in creation stories and traditional ecological knowledge systems. These indigenous connections often provide valuable insights into crane behavior and habitat requirements that complement scientific research efforts. Literature, art, and music across the crane's range frequently feature these magnificent birds as symbols of grace, wisdom, and spiritual connection to the natural world. Ancient texts, temple carvings, and contemporary artworks continue to celebrate the crane's beauty and symbolic importance. Conservation challenges. Navigating a changing world. Despite their cultural reverence, Sarus crane populations face mounting pressures that threaten their long-term survival. Habitat loss represents the primary challenge, with wetland drainage for agriculture, urban development, and industrial projects eliminating breeding and foraging areas across their range. The Indian subcontinent has lost over 70% of its natural wetlands during the past century, forcing crane populations into increasingly marginal habitats. Agricultural intensification, while providing some foraging opportunities, often involves pesticide use that can poison cranes directly or eliminate their invertebrate prey base. Climate change compounds these challenges through altered precipitation patterns that affect wetland hydrology and food availability. Extreme weather events, including unseasonable storms and prolonged droughts, can devastate breeding efforts and force populations into suboptimal habitats. Human disturbance during critical breeding periods can cause nest abandonment and reduce reproductive success. Infrastructure development, particularly power lines and wind farms, creates collision hazards along traditional flight routes and near important roosting areas. The Southeast Asian populations face particularly acute threats, with habitat destruction and hunting pressure reducing numbers to critically low levels. Political instability in some regions complicates conservation efforts and limits research opportunities essential for developing effective protection strategies. Conservation success stories. Hope for the future. Despite significant challenges, several conservation initiatives demonstrate that Sarus crane populations can recover with appropriate protection and management. Community-based conservation programs in India have successfully engaged local farmers and residents in crane protection efforts, creating economic incentives for habitat preservation. The establishment of crane reserves and protected wetlands has provided essential breeding habitat, while restoration projects have recreated suitable conditions in degraded areas. These efforts often benefit entire wetland ecosystems, supporting biodiversity conservation beyond crane populations alone. Educational programs targeting school children and local communities have increased awareness about crane ecology and conservation needs. These initiatives often build upon existing cultural connections to create strong local support for protection efforts. International cooperation through flyway conservation networks has improved protection along migration routes and facilitated research collaboration across national boundaries. These partnerships prove essential for species that cross multiple countries during their annual cycles. Research programs using modern technology, including satellite telemetry and genetic analysis, continue to reveal new insights into crane behavior, population structure, and habitat requirements. This information guides conservation planning and helps identify priority areas for protection efforts. Looking forward, ensuring a future for the Sarus crane. The future of Sarus cranes depends largely on our ability to balance human development needs with habitat conservation requirements. Sustainable agricultural practices that maintain wetland features while providing economic benefits to farming communities offer promising models for landscape-scale conservation. Climate change adaptation will require flexible management strategies that can respond to shifting environmental conditions and changing habitat availability. This may involve creating habitat corridors, establishing new protected areas, and modifying existing reserves to accommodate altered species distributions. Continued research into crane ecology, behavior, and population dynamics remains essential for developing effective conservation strategies. Emerging technologies, including environmental DNA analysis and advanced tracking systems, offer new tools for monitoring populations and understanding habitat use patterns. International cooperation must expand to ensure comprehensive protection across the species range. This includes supporting conservation efforts in countries with limited resources and establishing agreements that protect migratory routes and shared populations. The Sarus crane's remarkable adaptability and resilience, demonstrated through millions of years of evolutionary history, provide hope for their continued survival. Their secret life, filled with complex social relationships, sophisticated communication, and profound ecological connections, reminds us of the intricate natural systems that support all life on Earth. As we advance into an uncertain environmental future, the Sarus crane stands as both a symbol of what we stand to lose and an inspiration for what dedicated conservation efforts can achieve. Their trumpeting calls across wetland landscapes carry messages not only between crane pairs but also to human communities about our shared responsibility for protecting the natural world that sustains us all. Through understanding and protecting these magnificent birds, we preserve not only a species but an entire ecosystem and the cultural heritage that connects human societies to the natural world. The secret life of the Sarus crane, gradually revealed through scientific research and community observation, continues to inspire wonder and commitment to conservation efforts that benefit both wildlife and human communities across their remarkable range.